I hereby convene the Westchester Township Trustee meeting, June 25th, 2013. Roll call.
Mr. Wong?
Present.
Mrs. Stoker?
Here.
Mr. Lang?
Present.
Please arise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. First block of our meeting agenda is citizens' comment. This is for the residents of Westchester or those who own business in Westchester, and you have 2 minutes time limit. We have one person sign up, Mr. Matt King. Please come forward, state your name and address, please.
Matthew King, 7226 Deer Hollow Drive. During the discussion on the bike path during the last trustee meeting, it was proposed that the TIF money was for its construction. I understand that while the TIF money is only to be used for certain types of projects, it eventually expires, and any money that is left is placed into the general fund. And once it's in the general fund, there are no more strings attached, and the township can make a decision where that money can be used. When this point came up in the meeting, it was determined that the TIF expires in 2028. One of the board members seemed extremely uninterested in waiting that long. I believe the exact line was, quote, "That doesn't seem within the realm of the possibility at this time," unquote. Well, my question is, why not? You know what happens in 2028? I'll be in my mid-30s. That's what happens in 2028. I'll hopefully be here in Westchester, living and working, trying to continue to keep this a great community. What I don't understand is why some members of this board make a decision that only seems to benefit Westchester's next generation would be, quote, "outside the realm of possibility," end quote. Speaking on behalf of Westchester's next generation, we need trustees who consider us and our future families. With every decision you make here, you need to be considering how you will affect me and my family someday. We will need a financially secure township, not another bike path. I consider it your job to hand Westchester over to us without making mine and our generation a problem with these bad decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Boyko, presentation.
We have one presentation this evening, and before introducing the young lady we'd like to recognize this evening, I'd like to just provide a very brief introduction. In a collaborative approach in partnership with Lakota Local Schools and the Greater Cincinnati Character Council, Westchester and Liberty Townships Boards of Trustees are recognizing students of outstanding character. The students are nominated by Lakota teachers and faculty and are nominated for outstanding qualities, demonstrating strong character for which the Character Council of Greater Cincinnati promotes. The respective boards of trustees will recognize these students quarterly, and this is our inaugural recognition ceremony for these students. Although there are 3 students that are recognized quarterly, we only unfortunately have 1 in attendance this evening. But before, as I said, inviting Ms. Klusner to the podium, I'd like to share with you the other 2 students who were unable to be here this evening. And they are Mirlise Ceballos of Westchester. She just finished the 6th grade at Heritage Elementary. And teachers say Mirlise demonstrates kindness, thoughtfulness, and respect, encouraging her fellow students and always looking for ways she can be of assistance in the classroom. The other young gentleman who's unable to make it this evening, Mr. Jackson Katona, he just finished the 1st grade at Wyandotte Early Childhood School, and his teachers boast of Jackson's sincerity and the manner in which he puts others at ease. So with the preceding citizens' comment, I think it's a wonderful testament that of our future generation and these outstanding examples of character. With that, I'd like to invite Miss Lindsay Klusner and her mom and dad, Mr. and Mrs. Klusner, and her family to the podium. And I also wanted to recognize our Lakota Local School Board President, Linda O'Connor.
Thank you, Judy. It's actually vice president, so we will be very clear about that. Thank you. I appreciate the promotion. I want to thank you all for this partnership that we began this spring. Obviously, we all value character development and recognize that it's a foundation for future success. And the partnership that we've begun between the Cox newspapers and the Lakota School District, our Westchester and Liberty Township trustees, and the Character Council of Greater Cincinnati and Kentucky is to promote good character, especially among our young people. Judy has already explained the process by which we recognize students, but I would like to say on behalf of the Lakota Board of Education how much we appreciate and value the partnership. Thank you very much.
I would like to present this to you, Ms. Klusner, on behalf of the Westchester Township Board of Trustees, Lee Wong, Catherine Stoker, and George Lang, and also our fiscal officer, Mr. Bruce Jones, with this certificate of recognition for your demonstration of outstanding character and honor, and your recognition of student of character. As a student of Lakota Local School District, you have gone above and beyond classroom expectations and demonstrated strong leadership skills. Your actions reflect your values and make Westchester very proud. We wish you success in all future endeavors.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Lindsay, you want to
I'd like
say?
to say something real quick too. I got the chance to meet Lindsay's family before we started. Her dad Eric, mom Sheila, Ben and Ann. Did I get them all right? And Sheila said, "Thank you guys very much for doing this." And I told Sheila, to be clear, all the credit goes to Linda O'Connor as president of the school board. You're the one that got us involved in this. But more than that, the credit really goes to Lindsay for her outstanding leadership and academic skills that you've exhibited. So thank you very much.
Okay. Lindsay, do you want to say a few words?
Do you want to say a few words?
Lindsay, say a few words.
Well, while we're trying to talk Lindsay into coming up to the podium, I'd just like to say, we so often read the newspapers, watch the TV, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who sits there and says, hasn't anybody ever heard of character or integrity anymore? And it is such a gratification to see a fine young person like yourself and to have you recognized for it, because I don't think enough people really appreciate how important that is above everything else. No matter what happens in your life, if you have character and integrity, keep your chin up, keep on working, you'd be amazed what you'll be able to do. But it all starts with character. So many congratulations.
Well
Thank
said.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving me this award. I'm appreciative of the award because I think that recognizing people's character and how they act around other people, I think that's important.
All right. That's a good award.
Well said. Thank you very much.
Let's proceed to action items. I entertain a motion to approve trustee meeting minutes, May 28, 2013.
Also moved.
I'll second.
Discussion?
I submitted a few corrections, like the date of the meeting, and Mr. Jones has assured me they've been incorporated. So,
That's correct.
yeah.
Roll call?
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
I will entertain a motion for item C.
Also move that we approve trustee meeting minutes for June 11th.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
Again, I submitted a few non-substantive things, which Mr. Jones assures me have been apprised.
That is correct.
Roll call?
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
I will entertain a motion to approve payment of bills.
Also move.
I'll second it.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Mrs. Boyko, requisition greater than $2,500.
There are 4 requisitions for the board's consideration. Item 1 is an administration cost at $131,631.12 to Intergraph Security, Government, and Infrastructure. As the board is aware, this is to renew the annual license in support of public safety system and software applications. Intergraph operates the Township's 911 computer-aided dispatch system and also interfaces with local, state, and national information databases, and lastly provides messaging and reporting capabilities for our mobile devices. So obviously this is the backbone to our public safety system in terms of interface, managing reports, and also dispatching the actual emergency calls. Item 2, fire, $2,913.60 to TUV Rhineland Industrial Solutions Incorporated, and this is to perform required aerial and ground ladder tests. Item 3, fire, $2,900 to firefighter medic John McGinnis, and this is to reimburse tuition per the collective bargaining agreement. And item 4, Celebrite to police, $9,584 to Celebrite USA Incorporated. The police department is requesting approval to expend this $9,584 cost to purchase the Celebrite Universal Forensic Extraction Device System. The system is a mobile data recovery system used by law enforcement to retrieve valuable data from mobile devices, cell phones predominantly, pertinent to investigations. For obvious reasons, lawful extraction of pertinent data for criminal suspects will advance the law enforcement efforts of Westchester Township, of course. Costs will be paid from the Drug Law Enforcement Fund, and subsequent annual years there will be about a $2,900 maintenance kind of renewal cost to maintain the system and the software.
Right, I will entertain a motion for item 1 through 4.
Also move.
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
We have no personnel item. Mrs. Boyko, business item 5.
Item 5 is a motion to declare 2 properties as public nuisances as listed, 8720 Cincinnati Dayton Road and 9040 Debbie Road. There is a sample motion on page 2 of your memorandum.
I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion that after having reviewed the staff reports and affidavits, I move that we declare the properties listed on the Westchester Township Board of Trustees meeting agenda dated June 25th, 2013 to be public nuisances as authorized by the Ohio Revised Code. Staff is directed to cause removal of the nuisances identified and monitor these property for 90 days to require continued compliance. An administrative charge of 25% shall be added to the contractor fee for these properties.
Do you have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Item 6.
Police Chief Niehaus is requesting the board's permission to dispose of the following vehicles as listed on your memorandum, and these vehicles will be received through court forfeitures or by auction, and they will be disposed of either 1 abandoned vehicle and 4 forfeited vehicles by auction or through salvage dealer.
I will entertain a motion for item 6.
Also move.
I'll second it.
Discussion?
Judy, I don't know if there was a mistake in the supporting material or in the header, but we're approving a motion to dispose of 1 abandoned vehicle and 4 forfeited vehicles. But if you look in the detail, there's only 3 forfeited vehicles.
Thank you very much for that clarification.
So I don't know if we're missing one.
Shall we
No.
just,
There was an error in the title of the memorandum.
so it's
So there's
3
3, yes.
forfeited.
So why don't you withdraw your motion and make a...
I'll amend my I'll withdraw it and remake a motion to dispose of 1 abandoned vehicles and 3 forfeited vehicles by auction or through salvage dealer.
And I'll withdraw my original second and second Ms. Stoker's amended motion, or new motion.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good catch.
Roll call.
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Okay, we have no first reading. Citizens' comment. Calling once. Calling twice. Calling the third time. Item 7. Ms. Boyko?
Yes, thank you very much. Item 7, at the last Board of Trustees meeting, which was your June 11th regularly scheduled meeting, public hearing was conducted on updates to the Westchester Township Comprehensive Land Use Plan. The Comprehensive Land Use Plan has gone through the process of the amendment and adoption and update process, first starting with the Land Use Planning Committee's engagement of the current plan, and then through a series of public hearings, first at the Butler County Planning Commission, then the Westchester Township Zoning Commission, then obviously before the Board of Trustees at your last meeting conducted a public hearing. So the second reading for resolution number 09-2003, approving an update to the Westchester Township Comprehensive Land Use Plan.
We're going to vote on it tonight.
Yes, this is the second reading and vote, and I do apologize, I was mistaken. There was no public hearing before the County Planting Commission. It goes from the Land Use Planning Committee's recommendation to the Westchester Township Zoning Commission, then to the Board of Trustees for your public hearing and execution.
All right. I will entertain a motion for item 7.
I'd like to move then that we approve resolution number 9-2013, which is an update to the Westchester Township Comprehensive Land Use Plan.
I'll second it.
Discussion?
Yeah, I would just like to say, this work is so important, and we are so blessed, to have it. This helps create the vision of our land use going into the future. And it's not work that's done by the trustees. We ultimately have final approval and final say-so, but it's done by a group of volunteers and led by Larry Brushaber, who's here tonight. And Larry, I know you put in countless hours on this, and I just wanted to tell you personally your efforts are appreciated, as well as your entire committee. So thank you very much.
Roll call.
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Next is discussion items and trustee comments. Ms. Boyko? Mr. Lane?
Sure. We have our assistant police chief, Dave Kelly's son, played for the national championship Alabama team this past year. And I just found out today his other son, Mike Kelly, is leaving today for the Naval Academy, where he's going to be playing football at the Naval Academy. So just an example of many great athletes in Westchester, but Westchester is well represented throughout the country. And Chief, if you'll let Dave know how much we appreciate his service and how proud we are that his son is going to the Naval Academy. That speaks very highly of him. The other thing I'd like to talk about is water rates in Westchester. Our water rates that we pay per gallon is about twice what Hamilton pays. And yet we're getting supplied the water from Hamilton. We currently, and we also get some of our water from Cincinnati. And for perspective, the water rate that is charged from Hamilton is $2.71 per 1,000 gallons. And from Cincinnati, it's $1.62 per 1,000 gallons. That's what we pay, which means the citizens of Hamilton are paying about half of what we pay, or $1.35. So we and the rest of the county are helping to subsidize the citizens and the businesses in Hamilton. And it not only is it a residential issue, but it becomes a big business issue as well. When it comes to economic development, one of the things that a lot of companies look for, especially if you're in a targeted sector, is a good, clean water supply. And we're putting ourselves, I think, at a competitive disadvantage versus the market because of the high rates we're currently paying. By the way, on July 1st, our rates from Hamilton are going to go from $2.71 to $2.78, up 7 cents per 1,000 gallons. And Cincinnati, our rates are going to go up from $1.62 to $1.66. That's only a 4-cent increase on a much lower base. And according to the Oakwood survey, as I mentioned before, Westchester pays 50% more for water than Hamilton. Not even counting the businesses I talked about earlier, that comes out to about $40 per year per residence more that we are paying, because I think we're helping to subsidize the rates in Hamilton. Ms. Stoker, I see you smiling. I know this has been a pet peeve of yours for quite some time. But if Hamilton charged us the same rate as Cincinnati, we would be saving $3.3 million a year. So I met with some representatives this past week, and that there may be some wiggle room that we have if you look at the contract that was signed between the county and Hamilton. And I would just like to make a recommendation that we direct staff and our law director, Don Crane, to look into this and see if there is some action that we can do. I think there is. I'm not a lawyer, but I would like to spend a little time researching and investigating and see if we can have a positive impact for the businesses and residents of Westchester.
You had a meeting with Commissioner already.
I have met with the commissioner, yes.
Well, this first I heard of it, but from the sound of it, this has merit to look into it.
This is the whole issue of our water and sewer capacities and rates has been something I've been involved with intensively since about 1990. Yeah, you're right. The county commissioners, a couple of decades ago, signed what I personally, just speaking as an individual, it's my opinion, they signed a totally abusive contract with the city of Hamilton, which was, and there are many, many reasons, permutations, individuals, but the bottom line is, as you were saying, it ends up, we're paying through the nose. We're subsidizing the city of Hamilton. And the city of Hamilton turns around, and one of the incentives they give to businesses who want to move in is, guess what? Not only do we have low water rates, we'll make your rates even lower if you want to move in. I mean, it's different things have happened over the years. For example, some years back, I'm not sure if you were on the board at the time, we spent a few bucks putting in a 36-inch high pressure main from the city of Cincinnati waterworks to at least give us an alternative source of water. Before, Hamilton was the only game in town. Right now, as you're saying, we have Cincinnati available. So this is all playing out. Hamilton, of course, has at different times threatened strong lawsuits if anybody even tries to approach that contract. It all gets very muddy. And it all came about because a number of people saw an opportunity to use their positions, as I'm just speaking from my opinion, to further themselves financially. And the result was it caused us problems. Consider, for example, if we had another facility, say a long-term care facility, something like Drake, suppose they considered moving in. We all know what a tremendous asset Westchester Hospital is to us, right? Long-term care, very similar type of operation. It's a little different market, but I mean, it's similar care. They use a lot of water. Things like the price of water might impact whether or not, a wonderful business like that might come here or not. So if there's something we can do, I think we ought to look at it. I've kind of beat my head against that wall off and on for 20 years. I don't know what can be done, but something to remember is in about 7 years or so, that contract runs out. And it's not too soon to start thinking about what's going to happen when that contract runs out.
Well, and I'm not a lawyer, but there may be a way for us to expedite the ending of that contract, and I'll get with our law director, Crane. Judy already has a copy of this contract, and there may be a way for us to expedite it and hopefully get into a system, a regional system where we're a partner. Because right now, we are not a partner. We're subject to the negotiations of others. And I think you're right in everything you said. And you said there's many reasons why these negotiations took place. And at the risk of violating Ronald Reagan's 11th commandment, I think most of them are politically motivated. So obviously I'm speaking bad about
I was thinking of financially motivated, but I think we're on the same.
Politically, I'll stick with that. So, Judy, I think you have the direction for you guys to move forward and see if there's something we can do.
One more point. I think Westchester, are we the biggest consumer of water?
I would assume.
We're certainly one of the larger
largest?
that are actually feeding off of the city of Hamilton's line.
Yeah, you know, you have Miller Brewery, which is a big
Yeah, but
consumer up in Monroe.
they don't come off of Hamilton. I don't
AK
believe.
Steel is a big consumer. I'm just looking at consumers.
Oh,
of water.
consumers in general,
Yeah,
yes.
and then
Oh,
we
yeah.
have here Amelin, the hospital. We have other businesses here that are very dependent
All
on
the
water.
nursing homes and assisted living homes, think of all those laundry and cleaning and washing, yeah.
Okay, you have the direction.
Hopefully we can help our businesses be more profitable.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Lane?
No, that's all I have.
Okay, I've got one.
Yes.
On the subject of the connector bike path, which we have been discussing for some months now, I would like to ask the board to join with me looking at the materials that Mrs. Boyko gave to us to move forward with respect to getting the Butler County Engineer's Office to create engineering and cost estimates for us, so we have a better idea of exactly what are we looking at, what are the costs, what would be involved. At that time, which could take 1 to 2 months to do at that time, I think we should be able to vote up or down on the project as a whole. We will have a lot more information on the costs, et cetera, involved in it. I think this is a worthwhile project. We have seen a lot of support, I believe, here at the Township for it. And I think it is certainly worthy of getting enough information for us to be able to make an educated decision on whether to go or no go on this project. So if I could get the support of the board.
I agree. I think we've been talking about this since March of this year. I think it's time to move forward to the next step, to get engineer involved, find out what the real cost is of this project. Let's proceed with it.
So we're not moving forward with the project, just the
Right.
next step, which is just the engineering
Engineering.
study to get some costs. Yeah, and my position still hasn't changed. I still think this is the wrong thing for our township to do. It's not a core competency. We should focus on police, fire, roads, and leave our community in financially great shape for folks like Lindsay. And I thought Matt King brought up an excellent point, which I haven't considered before. Future generations, it's not a core competency of ours. As we look at our budget, our revenue sources are depleting. We're losing the local government fund. We're losing the estate taxes, and if not losing, they are being greatly diminished. So losing may not be an accurate term.
We're losing.
But our sources of revenue, I would say that that's a fair statement, are going away. So we have to be even more prudent with our money. And, you know, I keep going back to the Cincinnati Enquirer. According to a May 8, 2011 edition of the Cincinnati Enquirer, we have more bike paths in our community than any other community in the greater Cincinnati area. So we're already leading the way as it relates to bike paths. And then I'm very worried about our police levy. It's projected that as soon as 2 years, our police budget could be underwater. And, you know, I would much rather see us use our resources for core competencies, not for something that I don't consider to be a core competency, and something that we're already leading the community in anyway. And I just don't see this as a driver for economic development. I know you do, Ms. Stoker, and I've tried to look at that over the last couple of weeks, and I just didn't get to where you're at.
Yeah,
I know you have the
thank you.
support of Mr. Wong, though.
Point of order. Maybe my colleague, Mr. Lane, interpreted differently. On the article you just mentioned, May 8, 2011,
Yes.
I dug it up, researching, I read it. There was not one mention of word of Westchester in there.
Yeah.
And that you flip a map showing that that Westchester has the most bike path in the whole tri-state region. It didn't mention anything about Westchester.
Lee, that's where you're in error. You're not listening to what I'm saying. I very clearly said there was a story in the May 8th Cincinnati 2011 edition in which there was a map included. I have the map right here. The map shows every single bike path going from, we're down in Kentucky, we're over in Indiana, going up almost to, not quite to Columbus, but it goes more than halfway to Columbus. And according to this map, Westchester, which I took the liberty of highlighting, our little 36-mile square of Westchester, we have more bike paths than any other 36 miles square in the same region. Significantly more. Just eyeballing it, there's no place that's even remotely close. So I'm sorry you misunderstood what I said, but I'm always referring to the map.
I respect
the story
you.
was just about bike paths in the greater Cincinnati area.
Okay. I respect your interpretation of it, but my interpretation of that is the circle is this big, and Westchester is just a dot in the middle. When you put those little bike paths together, you may interpret it as we have more bike paths. That's not the case I interpret it.
Yeah. I think I can clear this
what part
up.
of this is confusing?
Okay.
I don't understand the interpretation.
Actually, Mr. Lang, I think I can clear that up. If I could get some help, Mrs. Boyko, if you could operate, I have a couple of overheads, could you project up? There's just two here. If you could help me. I did the same thing as Mr. Lang. I looked up that article, and sure enough, it talked about it, bike paths in general, in a positive way. Didn't mention Westchester, but it had a link to this map.
That's correct.
So I looked at this map, and that's the map that Mrs. Boyko is going to project, and it appeared to show all kinds of bike paths in Westchester. And I looked at that and I said, oh, that couldn't possibly be true because I know where the bike paths are, and that doesn't look like where the bike paths are. So have we got that?
The green ones are proposed or planned bike
Right,
paths.
either one. What happened is that's the map which Mr.
Here,
Lang has
is that a black and
referred
white
to.
copy, Barb?
I don't know, that's a color copy.
Is this-
Is there any way we can get it a little brighter?
That highly concentrated area there is Westchester.
Right. Now here's the problem. What they're showing are not bike paths. I think the Inquirer, when they wrote the article, thought they were bike paths. I believe what those are the city or the township streets, which are marked as bike routes. That's not a bike path. That's a township street. And if you could show, I don't.
Kathy, I've been on many
Wait a
of these.
minute.
These are bike
Wait a minute.
paths.
Could
Wait a
could she
minute.
finish
A
what
bike
she's saying?
path is something which is separate from the road so that families can ride without having to worry about some automobile coming up and sideswiping. Separate.
Not
bike.
necessarily. We have a Cox lane to
No,
bike lane.
That's a bike lane.
Yes.
A bike path, which is what the story was about. And if you look at the legend, it's hard to read, but what that legend says is existing paths and planned paths, but it's not. These are the township roads which are shown. Now, if you'll put, and I think we can get more clear yet, if you'll put the second slide on. Thank you, Barb. These are the bike paths in Westchester. If we start at the upper left-hand corner, we may need a pointer. On the upper left-hand corner, you'll see a loop, which is labeled number 1. That is the hiking biking path, which was built by Westchester Villages. Now, if we go east from there, we can see, I think I need to, do you see a number 2? Can you point, Barb, at the number 2 right there? That's the Beckett Ridge bike path. Just like Westchester Villages, it was built with private money, and that's a separate bike path, or hiking biking path. If you go further east, the number 3 loop is your loop, Mr. Lang, at Wetherington. And then next to that is the loop which goes around the Voice of America Lake, which was built by Metro Parks. Now, if we come back west, underneath the Beckett Park, the Beckett Ridge bike path is Beckett Park. When we developed Beckett Park, we put in a bike path which loops through both sides of the park. And west of that is our Port Union bike path, which runs along Mill Creek. If you'll notice, those are the only bike paths that we have in Westchester, and it bears no resemblance to the map shown in the Inquirer. Now, the connector which everybody's talking about, see the big arrow? The connector that we are talking about doing is the connector which will connect Westchester Village to Beckett Ridge to Beckett Park bike paths. So in other words, with that single stretch, we connect literally miles of bike paths so that the people on the most westernmost, Westchester Village, who can reach the businesses along 747 but can't reach, say, Beckett Park and the library, would then be able to get all the way across on protected bike paths. By the same ridge, the people who can reach on bike paths, the Westchester Library, etc., can then get across to the Beckett Krogers and to the Westchester Village's bike paths. So as you can see, those bike paths bear no resemblance at all to what was shown in the Inquirer article. The Inquirer article is just flat wrong.
I would dispute your assertion, but let's assume you're right. I think the same assumption has to be made that they probably made mistakes everywhere, and everybody may
Quite
be
possible.
overrated.
Quite possible.
But I would dispute
all I
your
know is
assertions.
Westchester.
I consider the Cox Lane bike lane to be specifically for bikes. That's all it's for. And it's used regularly by bike riders, and we invested money
Will you
to
ride a
build
bike?
that.
Will you ride on Cox Lane, that little dangerous lane about
Sure.
3 feet?
Sure. I see
You
people
would
riding
ride
it
a bicycle.
regularly.
I never seen you ride a bicycle on that.
Why, you don't see me in my private life, Mr. Wong. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry about that.
Well, that's
So
a preference.
I think we explained that. Basically, there was
that's
an
good.
error on the part
Well,
of the Inquirer.
I'll dispute that, your interpretation.
Okay.
But regardless, you have a second vote. I'm not going to dispute that. And Ms. Boyko, I think you have the direction of the board to move on with the engineering studies.
I would like to make one more point, is that I asked the staff to do a research for the past 10 years. What are the developments west of 747, as you can see on that map? That includes the west of State Route 747 and from north of Titusville, that area, down to Smith Road. There were 1,243 single-family homes built in the last 10 years, 88 condo units, 16 apartment units, 5 commercial buildings, 1 school, and 2 churches. So the total dwellings are 1,347 residential dwelling units. There are 22 new businesses. So for the last 10 years, we have not updated our bike path. So this little link here, it is so important. That will bring everyone together, like that map has shown. That it linked to Kroger, Beckett Ridge, all the way to the new residential area.
Lee, that's not an accurate statement that we haven't updated our bike paths in the last 10 years. I remember watching the bike path be built down Beckett Ridge just a few short years ago. We have updated, and if you look at the percentage of bike paths compared to the percentage of growth, I believe we've updated at a higher rate. And I know Kathy's map isn't accurate because it doesn't even include the bike path in the new Homerama community in the northwest portion of Westchester. I forget the name of that community. Very nice for Homerama West. Foxborough, yeah. It doesn't even include the bike path in Foxborough. I don't know what other ones are left off of your map here.
The point is that
The Foxborough one is on this map.
I was using Westchester's connection maps showing bike paths.
Well, and I'm sure if you did this on your own, there may have been other ones that you missed too, just like the Inquirer, which maybe this isn't accurate. I don't know that. I believe it is. I don't.
I know for a fact it's
those little sidewalks in a little subdivision, they're going nowhere. They're not linked to any place. Then you can't go any place except go around the
in
block.
circles.
So all the money
Around
we
the
spent
circle.
on bike paths that are a loop or
No, these are the main connector that
No, I mean in the
join
past.
to the other path that we have built.
But
As
the
you
nice
can
thing
see.
about those little ones, Lee, they're done with private dollars.
Now get out and ride a bike sometime and see what it's like.
I have done that before.
It's funny. I've never seen you ride.
I've never seen you ride your bike other than in the parade. I've never seen you
You
on your
never
bike
seen-
other than in the
okay, fine.
parade. And yet I don't dispute you ride it.
Yeah.
I
So-
believe you ride it.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
All right.
so
Point of order.
we've agreed, we're moving ahead, we're going to
let's
get
move
the Butler County engineering studies, better cost estimates, and you'll get that update to us so we can review it before the next meeting after that, so we can then make an informed decision whether to go ahead or not.
To reflect that's the majority of the board, just
That's
the two.
two of us, anyway.
All right.
Oh, could I add one other thing? With respect to funding, again, the TIF funding is not appropriate for the police department. I agree the police department, like all of us, and like every community across this country, if not the world, is stressed financially. But I have said before, and I say it again, all of us must live within our budget. Administration must, the fire department must, the police department must. It's important for just sheer efficiencies of government that we always do our very best to run as lean as we can. I think you'll agree we've worked very hard to do that. Now, should we, due to some unforeseen disaster come along, I could see where we could subsidize from the general fund, say a police department or fire department. But as far as recognizable and expected expenditures, we must live within our budgets. That's just my personal opinion.
I agree. Although we can use TIF monies for police department, matter of fact, we have.
What?
We built the current,
Building.
purchased and built the current police station.
Unless you're planning on building another
with money
police
from the
station.
TIF, which we then didn't, that left more money in the police levy to use for operations. So we can, and the bottom line is whatever money doesn't get spent in the TIF, once the TIF expires, it goes into the general fund, at which time a future board can pick how best to spend that money.
Our concerns are not 20 years out, our concerns are 2 years out. And during that next 2 years, we do not have TIF fund available to pay for our police operations. Our police operations are roughly 80% personnel. The rest of it are things like vehicles, computers, firearms, ammunition. None of that can be paid for with TIF money. And like I say again, we have to live within our budget.
Yep.
Police department does,
Absolutely.
fire department does, you and I do, and I believe we can do it.
I agree with that, and I also think one of the problems with many governments, they only look 1 year or 2 years out. They don't think about 10, 15, 20 years down the road and the unintended consequences. You can pick any community, Middletown. 40 years ago, they were rocking and rolling. The money from steel, the money from paper, they thought it would never end. They spent all that money on infrastructure, pools, parks, Taj Mahals, not being able to look into the future when the money ended. And now they're stuck with all that infrastructure that they have to maintain. And look what's happened to the city as a result.
I totally agree with you, and I believe that's one of the reasons we have not, when the money was pouring in, spent it wildly. We reserved cash for infrastructure costs that we knew were coming up. We did not go out and spend everything, and that's one of the reasons we have the highest financial rating you can get.
I could debate that as well, but I'm not going to.
We are doing
I think
just
there are
fine.
some things we've spent money foolishly
We are
on.
doing just fine. We have a AAA rating. That's
As was Detroit 40 years ago.
We are not Detroit.
We are not gloom and doom.
Middletown.
We are doing
not
just fine,
Hamilton.
Mr. Lane.
Well, and that's what they thought 40 years ago
You
in
don't need to
Detroit.
build this fake fear around here. We are doing just fine. Thank you.
Point of order, I just wanted to clarify one comment during the first citizen's comment where they referenced about the TIF and once it expires and the proceeds that potentially could go to the general fund. Currently, the statute is defined as a nominal amount of the balance of a TIF once it expires can be deposited or
And we
receipted.
don't know what nominal means.
Receipted to the general fund. Currently, and this is probably what Trustee Lang is referencing, is currently in this current biennium budget, House Bill 59, it is being considered and has gone through the process to date that then the nominal amount in the current statute is being removed, and that the TIF proceeds could be receipted to the general fund. Until that bill passes and, of course, becomes law, we're under the premise that it's a nominal amount.
And that's many years in the future. That's not
No, they're going to have to make a decision before July 1st. It's this current biennium budget.
Right.
You have the direction of the board.
All right. I will entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Also move.
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoker?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Thank you.
By many years, the TIF is at some point.